Hey guys, welcome back. The fly we're going to be tying today is pheasant tail nymph. There's a couple different ways you can tie this fly. The way we're going to show you here today is a flashback. You can do a pheasant tail back, do kind of a no back, and what it all comes down to is your wing casing, what you want to do for the wing casing. It's just going to, all it's imitating are different stages in that larva stage for this pheasant tail here. What I like to do is I like to start off with a bead. I like to throw on some lead wire. Lead wire I use is a .015. Small enough, but it still gives you enough weight, gives you a good body size. And I like to do it all the way down to the bend of the hook. So I want the whole body to be thick like this, rather than just tying it around the hook and letting the hook be the width of the body there. But once we make sure we get it tied down, another little trick too, if you can see close enough, maybe if you make the video full screen, you'll be able to see I left me some room from my bead to my weight. What that's going to do, that's going to allow me to, while I have my peacock curl at the end, that's going to allow me to tie off a little bit easier and really hide my thread better here at the end. But once we get our weight and everything down, we're going to take some pheasant tail fibers, and we want to go about the length of the body. That's about right, and we want to measure it down there. And what I do here is a pinch wrap. I pinch the thread in my fingers, then I pull straight down. That prevents the pheasant tail from spinning on me. And then once we get that down, we want to take some extra small copper wire. And we're just going to do a couple wraps, make sure that's tied down. You don't want to have this pheasant tail tied all the way up the body. You want to have a pretty close, tight tie on it there, because we're going to use that to wrap around the body. We don't want our thread to show any more than it has to. Once we get the copper wire tied down, if you have a rotary vise, cut off, about 2-3 inches or so. That's going to allow you to rotate this pheasant tail around without getting your wire all tangled up. We're just going to go around slow, just make sure we cover up all the thread, probably about 3/4 of the way up, so we have enough room to give ourselves a nice looking thorax here. And then we're just going to tie our pheasant tail off. And this pheasant tail really gives a nice buggy appearance. Really, the fish really seem to enjoy it. This is one of my go-to flies. This and a prince nymph are two of my really go-to flies for fishing underneath and things like that. They'll key on this bug all year long. But once we get that pheasant tail tied on, now we're going to wrap our copper wire around, and we want to go the opposite way we wrap the pheasant tail. So we'll just go around, and we want it. This is our ribbing to give the imitation of segments on the bug, make it look more lifelike. And let me redo this here. You want to make sure it's evenly spaced, or as evenly spaced as you can possibly get it. And that's much better. And then we'll just go up to the end of our pheasant tail there. We'll tie our copper wire off. And so if you were to do, I cut mine about 3 inches. So if you were to go probably about 2 inches, you probably would have been all right. I've got about 1 inch left here. But so we'll get that tied on, and save your scissors. Don't try cutting your wires and your lead weight and things like that. You twist it a couple times, it'll just pop right off. And you're not going through scissors left and right. That's a mistake that I made early on. I started cutting all my wires and everything with my scissors, and I had to end up going and buying another pair. So learn from my mistakes, I guess. But now we've got some we've got some pearl tinsel for our flashback. You can use different kinds of flashes and things like that. Like I said, you could use a pheasant tail here. You probably want to grab about 6 fibers of pheasant tail if you want to do a pheasant tail wing casing. You could use different kind of flashes and things like that. There's all kinds of things you can do for this wing casing, but I've just got this pearl tinsel here. It's perfect width. It'll work out really, really nice for me. Then we take peacock curl. If you have a rotary vise, you can get away with 1 strand. If you don't, if you're going to wrap kind of with your fingers, I would do probably 2 or 3. It'll make it easier on you. But where you have a rotary vise, you can get those long peacock, the nice looking side of your peacock curl. You'll have one side nice thick long strands, and the other side just kind of shabby looking stuff. You want the long green colorful strands to be on the outside, And like I said, with this rotary vise, I can do it and make it look full and thick with just one strand. But before I got my rotary vise and I was having to wrap around, I would do 2 or 3 strands. That's the only way I could get it to look thick and look and come out nice. Once we get that wrapped, we'll just tie her down here and cut off our excess. And honestly, you can really tie this fly. I've got a couple without any flashback, so if we did this without a flashback, we would be done right there. But we'll bring our flash over, give us a wing casing, and make sure that's on good and tight there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab 6 pheasant tail fibers. So I've got 3 on each side, and we want to go the length of the body. Once I have the length of the body picked out, this can get kind of tricky. You can do one side at a time. Sometimes I get lucky or a little overconfident or whatever the case might be, and I try and do all 6. And I'm going to try and be cool here and show you that I can do all 6, and it's taken longer than I thought, so I'm really not cool at all. But okay, so we've got all 6 pinched down. Maybe. There we go. Right there. So we've got all 6 tied down, and now we can just do a loose wrap. And then just pull it really tight there, and now you're tied down, and now you're not having a whole bunch of thread up at the front going over your bead. We're able to hide the thread really, really well. And the other part of that is, remember at the beginning we left some room, a gap between our lead weight and our bead here. That allows that thread to really get in there deep, so it's not sticking out right on top and hiding our thread a little bit. And so after we whip finish, I mean, that's basically it, guys. I'm just going to trim down some of my excess here on my pheasant tails, pretty it up a little bit, and that's your pheasant tail nymph. Keep in mind, try this with a couple different patterns for your wing casing. Try a pheasant tail wing casing. Try without having the wing casing, then you wouldn't do your pheasant tail at the end for kind of your legs and whatnot. But that's your pheasant tail nymph. Fish this often. This really works well. If you're having a slow day, throw this pheasant tail on. I think you'll do really, really well, get into a lot of fish. Here's the materials you need for it. We're going to use brown thread, a lot of pheasant tail. The materials for this fly super, super cheap, and with your pheasant tails and things like that, you'll be able to tie a ton of flies. But you can get all those materials at the website. We can get them shipped out to you pretty quick. Good luck tying, guys. Have fun out there.